So, I can't resist talking a little politics right off the top in the show today because there was a huge verbal slap fight in the Republican Party this week between Christie, the governor of New Jersey, and Rand Paul. And it was sort of about, I think, a fight for the soul of the Republican Party, where they're going to go. Because, okay, next month is the 12th anniversary of 9/11. Some people in the Republican Party are saying, let's move on. That's Rand Paul. He's saying, you know, we spy on each other too much. We spend too much on defense. So Christie, who's from the neocon wing, fired back and said, you know what, come to New Jersey and tell that to the widows and orphans. He played that Giuliani card, which I think is sleazy. And then Rand Paul, like, made a fat joke. But who's going to win this battle is my question to this panel in the Republican Party.
Well, I don't think that you can let Christie get away with taking such a cheap shot, because I don't think that you honor the widows and orphans of 9/11 by increasing surveillance on Americans. I think you honor them by giving medical care to first responders, or public health care, or social services.
Okay, well,
but I'd love to see a fight.
This is a fight in the Republican Party.
Sure,
okay,
and I always enjoy fights about civil liberties because the libertarians are always very strong on it, and I think it has the potential to rift them, because we've seen the public support declining for Obama in the wake of the NSA whistleblowing from Edward Snowden, and so I think the libertarians have an edge here. But what I'd like to see is a rift on social issues, because Christie and Rand Paul are exactly the same on social issues, and Christie actually just said that Medicare in New Jersey, the income, like, maximum used to be $24,000 for a family of 3. Now he's saying a family of 3 making $6,000 a year is too rich for Medicaid.
Oh.
I think, though, I think the reason Christie picked this fight is that Christie has built a record that I would say is actually fairly moderate, both on economic policy and on social policy. For example, he's one of the Republican governors who said, hey, let's take the Medicaid expansion in Obamacare. It's something the federal government's going to pay for. I don't want to keep fighting this fight. I'm not going to let the Tea Party drive me on this. And I think, as he wants to run for president, he's too far out on those issues to really connect with the conservative base. This is an issue where, because he's a governor, he doesn't really have a record, and so I think this is the one where he can be like, I'm Mr. Conservative. But I'm not sure it actually says much about what he would do if he were elected president. I mean, if you look at what George Bush said about foreign policy and, you know, a humbler...
Sure.
Yeah, so there's no real accountability on this. Christie can say whatever he wants.
I have to confess my bias. I have a little bit of a soft spot for Christie because I have an interest in rude fat guys doing well in politics. I've always thought there was a certain cause there. Beyond that, I do want to note that Christie is the single individual most responsible for gay and lesbian people not being able to get married in America. His legislature passed a bill to allow same-sex marriage, so Christie individually, more than any other single individual, is blocking that for millions of people. They're going to vote in December on an override. Beyond that, I'm with one on one set of issues and one on the other. On the issue about national security, Rand Paul is right.
Yeah, you made common cause with people like that when you were in Congress.
His father and I worked closely together on marijuana, but also on this. Ron Paul would go further than I, but we have this problem right now. The commander of the American forces in Afghanistan, General Dunford, just told the New York Times to ask him about what we should be doing, because they're trying to pressure Obama now to keep thousands of troops in Afghanistan next year so we can make Afghanistan into a democracy. I wish we could make Afghanistan into a democracy. You know, it's like the old joke about the guy who goes into the candy store and says, make me a malted. And he says, poof, you're a malted. I mean, we can't, poof, they're a democracy. It ain't going to happen. Rand Paul is right on that set of issues. On the other hand, Josh is right. Christie does not fall into that far right-wing situation with regard to dismantling the whole network of economic activity. But as to who's going to win, I don't think either one of them will be the nominee, but I do think the nominee will be closer to the Rand Paul view on social issues, closer to the Christie on foreign policy.
Do you think we could get rid of